Boom! Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I'm Z James. This is Z33 Workshop, and this sitting beside me is my lovely 1993 Nissan 300ZX convertible race car. Well, autocross car, weekend car. Sorry about moving the camera around on you folks. Oh, that backlighting is probably a little too bright for you. Last episode, we took off the old passenger's rear lower control arm, also known as an A arm, because that's what it is, it makes an A. And to this episode, we're putting in the new Nismo unit that I got. This came from Concept Z Performance. Nice little two-set kit. I'm happy they're still making these. This looks gorgeous, and once again, it's another component that looks fantastic that I'll never see very often again. Although, if you're a show car, this is where you want to be at. This just looks great. We're going to put on the collar, ball seat, for the ball joint, because you got to have that. Plus, I'm going to put on the plastic shield guard that goes to the bottom side to protect the ball joint on this. And then we're going to put it in the car and put everything up to torque spec. Once again, it's on the manual. I will put it in the description below for those numbers. Because first thing we're going to do is put the bolts in on the back of the A-arm, get this in position, and then get this torque down up front of the ball joint, jack everything up, torque these in down. While we're doing that, we'll put in the, well, that would be last. Then we'll put the axle back in, tighten those two down, which is the front main bolt there, and then the 5 bolts on the axle, get that in position. And then after that should be the sway bar link, which I am going to reset at the medium setting. I had it in a soft setting. A lot of people complained about that, or at least people have mentioned it. I think I had that too much, but to be honest with you, I thought the tail end of the car moved around too much if I had it in the hard setting. It wasn't as stable as I'd like it. But I'm going back to the medium setting because I'm lowering the car with new bushings and adjustability everywhere. So we'll see how this plays out for the couple of seasons I'm going to be running the suspension before I go to coilovers, because that's a big investment, and my next big investment into the car, like big investment, is going to be a twin turbo motor. But I'm not going to do that right away. That's at least a year away. I'm started accumulating parts. I have a vast majority of them, but I'm going to do the upgrades while I'm there because the motor's out. I don't want to do them as I go. So it's going to be a pretty hefty chunk of money investment to begin with to do the twin turbo motor the way I want it. At least the way I would want to see set up on it. And by the way, I'm not going big turbo. I went quick spooling. I do autocross, and I know I live out in the Midwest where everyone loves hard pulls, fast pulls, but this is a small, quick little car. I want to feel that way. And if I could get 400 and 450 horsepower without too much difficulty, that's where I want to be at. And I'd love to be in the boost by at least $3 grand. If I can be in the boost by 25 or 2750, which is way low in RPM, would be amazing. I don't know how the motor would handle that much pressure at that time, because redline is, and this car is 7200 RPM. So we'll see how it goes. But that's a whole nother conversation when I was looking at that. But today, once again, we're talking about this right here. Nismo rear lower control arm, also known as an A arm. We're gonna put this in. So it's gonna be time-lapse video for everybody on this. All the tools I'm using will be in the descriptions below. But just give you a quick rundown. The 2 bolts here, 19mm, nut and bolt, 19mm. Ball joint is 22mm. The sway bar link, it's a Stillman unit, so it's not factory, but that's a 14mm. The axle, the 5 bolts that go to the differential, those are 14mm as well. Then the axle nut that comes through the hub in the back, that is, I don't know what the millimeter size is because I don't have that, but I'm using an 1 7/16" socket. Once again, an 1 7/16", so a massive socket on that. Putting that in, and then all the torque settings. Torque specs, like I said, will be in the description below. I'll have them also in Newton meters, kilogram meters, and foot pounds. I do most stuff in foot pounds, but I know people can watch this internationally and have everything else depending on what your torque wrench has for you. One trick I did find, I'm going to tell you this right now in the last one. Hang on a second. The trick that torquing differential bolts, because I can't get a torque wrench in there, is I have this. This is what I use to torque those out. They get them out past the axle until I get to them. And I rotate it to the top, I can torque set them through the outside with an actual torque wrench. Underneath the car, there just isn't room for me to do it. But once you realize you can actually go from all the way out from the diff, all the way out past the hub, and get a torque wrench on the outside. Once again, really long extension. I just bought these a while ago, knowing that I may have to use them eventually again, and these will come in handy if I ever do transmission stuff again. Because if anyone's ever done transmissions on a 300ZX, you use every extension you possibly own to make it work. But I found another use for it, so that's what we're gonna do. All right, so let's go to time warp on this, guys, and we'll start putting parts back into the car, and you'll see where it goes. So 3, 2, 1, time warp. That's gonna do it for this other episode for the passenger's rear control arm. I ran into one small problem. I gotta research it. I'm not finding it. When I was putting stuff back together, on the passenger driver's side, I found a gasket that it's a rubberized one, and I can't figure out where it came from. I rewatched the videos, and it just shows up without figuring out where it dropped from. So I was like, well, I went through everything I took apart, and checked the factory service manual, didn't see it. At first I thought it might have been an isolator on the axle. It's not that. So I was like, well, I'll put the passenger one on it, and I'll do because maybe it's something from another project I had it rolled underneath the car. Well, I just did the passenger side, and I found the dang same thing underneath the middle of the car. It's a rubber gasket. I don't know where it came from. I'm gonna have to ask the guys on the internet to see where it's at. I mean, I went through everything, and it doesn't make sense where it dropped from. I watched the video of where it was at. You know, I started off, did the 2 bolts on the back bolts on the A-arm, came off, nothing there. Went and did the sway bar link, nothing there. Did the 5 bolts on the axle on the back side against the differential, nothing there. Took the nut off the axle. I actually looked at that, didn't see anything there. Pounded it out, didn't see anything. Took the A-arm off, didn't see anything. Now, I was in the video and I couldn't see it where it shows up. Because I'm kind of blocking the view for myself, because it shows up right by the bolts that it drops off. Once I get the A-arm off, take it off, I don't see it there, but when I go put the new one on, it's on the ground. It's there already. It's driving me bonkers, guys. It's literally driving me nuts what these little things are. And they don't feel like they're crushed, so they're not getting a lot of compression, but I don't know where they came from. And I got 2 of them. It's crazy. So I'm gonna have to go look online, see what I can find. I've checked the factory service manual, not seeing it, so it's driving me bonkers. Didn't see anywhere I would put it back on at. But you can physically see in the video where it shows back up. When I put the numbers, like, it's right there. I'm like, where did you come from? I have no idea. So I'm gonna ask. It is what it is. So anyway, that is the Nismo putting lower control arms on an Nismo 300ZX. If you guys have any comments or questions, hit me up. And if you know what these things are, let me know. It's driving me bonkers, because I'll take everything apart and put them back where they belong. I just don't know where they belong. Now, tightening things up, you can see where I had my longs extensions for, I don't know if you can see it, long extensions, to torque things up. Everything worked good. I'll put them down in the description for torque settings again for all the bolts I did. Now, the sway bar links from Stillman, I did not put on. I lost the instructions for those, but I'm fairly sure that's pretty just tight. And if I remember right, the bushings are literally says until they squish, until they flatten out, so they're not say egg shape, but they. So that's it. Once again, my name is Z James. This is Z32 Workshop, and I hope to see you on the next project. And for this car, is going to be putting in, taking out the shocks, rear shocks, and putting in the new ones, putting them components together. So I'm getting real close to getting this thing back on the road for myself and having it with lowering springs with Tony shocks. So all right, take care, everybody. Bye.